You meet someone amazing, things feel perfect, and then your brain starts doing that thing. Why didn't they text back yet? Do they actually like me, or am I imagining it? Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe they're losing interest. And the worst part? You know you're overthinking. You tell yourself to stop, but you can't, because your brain won't let you. That's not just anxiety. That's not just insecurity. That is your attachment style running the show. And it was programmed into you before you even knew what love was. Back in the 1960s, a British psychologist named John Bowlby was studying something that seemed simple on the surface: how babies bond with their mothers. But what he discovered changed the way we understand human relationships forever. The way a caregiver responds to a child's needs in the first few years of life literally wires the child's brain to expect a certain kind of love. Consistent love, unpredictable love, cold love, or no love at all. And here's the part that should make you pause. That wiring doesn't disappear when you grow up. It follows you into every romantic relationship you ever have, every argument, every silence, every moment you sit staring at your phone waiting for a reply. Psychologist Mary Ainsworth later identified 3 distinct patterns. Today we recognize 4. They're called attachment styles, and they explain more about your love life than any dating advice ever could.
If you have this, you basically won the emotional lottery in childhood. Your caregivers were consistent. When you cried, someone came. When you were scared, someone stayed. So your brain learned, people are safe, love is reliable, I am worthy of it. In relationships, securely attached people can communicate their feelings without spiraling. They don't panic when their partner needs space. They don't catastrophize a short argument into a breakup. They trust, not blindly, but genuinely. About 50 to 60% of people fall into this category, which means the other 40 to 50% are working with something much more complicated. This one is loud. This one is exhausting, especially for the person who has it. If you're anxiously attached, your childhood probably looked something like this. Love was sometimes there. Your caregiver was warm one moment and distant the next, attentive today, unavailable tomorrow.
So your nervous system never got to relax. It stayed on high alert, constantly scanning for signs of abandonment. Fast forward to adulthood, and that same nervous system is now monitoring your romantic partner, analyzing their tone, replaying conversations, reading into 3-hour text silences like they're a coded message. Anxiously attached people don't overthink because they're dramatic. They overthink because their brain genuinely learned, if I stop paying attention, I might lose them. Hypervigilance kept them emotionally safe as a child. The brain never got the memo that it doesn't need to do that anymore. On the surface, avoidantly attached people look like they have it together. They seem independent, self-sufficient, unbothered. But dig a little deeper, and you find someone who was taught, usually very early, that needing people leads to disappointment. Maybe their caregiver was emotionally unavailable. Maybe vulnerability was met with dismissal or even ridicule.
So they adapted. They stopped asking. They stopped leaning. They learned to become their own island. In relationships, avoidant people pull away when things get emotionally intense, not because they don't care, but because closeness feels threatening to their nervous system. They shut down in arguments. They need a lot of space. And the more an anxious partner pushes for connection, the more they retreat. It's a loop, and it's painful for both sides. Anxious and avoidant partners have a magnetic pull toward each other, and it makes complete psychological sense. The anxious person chases the emotional unavailability they grew up normalizing. The avoidant person is drawn to the intense need for closeness they never allowed themselves to have. It's a loop, and it's painful for both sides. This is the most complex one, and often the most painful. People with disorganized attachment want love deeply, but love also terrifies them. Because the people who were supposed to protect them were often the same people who hurt them. So their brain received 2 completely contradictory signals: go toward them, run from them.
In adult relationships, this can look like intense connection followed by sudden emotional withdrawal. Longing for intimacy, but sabotaging it when it gets too real. It's not manipulative. It's a nervous system that never found a coherent strategy for feeling safe with another person.
Here's the thing most people miss. Overthinking in relationships isn't a personality flaw. It's not weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. When your attachment system gets triggered, a cold text, an argument, a partner who seems distant, your brain doesn't respond like an adult with full context. It responds like the child who learned that disconnection is dangerous. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, reasoning part of your brain, gets partially overridden by the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center. That's why you can know you're overreacting and still not be able to stop. Logic doesn't fix a triggered nervous system. The body keeps the score. Your thoughts about love aren't always about the present moment. They're often a conversation between your adult self and a version of you that's still waiting to find out whether love is safe.
Yes, and this is where it gets hopeful. Attachment styles are not life sentences. The brain has neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself based on new experiences. Research shows that a consistent relationship with a securely attached partner can gradually shift an insecure attachment style over time. Therapy, especially styles like EMDR or attachment-based therapy, can accelerate this process significantly. But even just knowing your attachment style changes the game. Because the moment you recognize, this isn't about what they did, this is my attachment system activating, you create a tiny but powerful gap between the trigger and your reaction. And in that gap is where real change begins. You stop blaming your partner for making you feel abandoned. You stop blaming yourself for being too much. You start understanding yourself. And understanding is always the first step to healing.
If you've made it this far, your brain clearly wants to understand itself better. And that's actually a sign of secure growth, whether it feels like it or not. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop in the comments which attachment style resonated with you the most: secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. You might be surprised how many people share your exact experience and how much less alone that makes you feel. If this video made something click for you, share it with one person in your life who overthinks love. They need to see this more than they know. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of who you are and why you love the way you do, subscribe to Hidden Facts, because understanding your own mind is the most important thing you'll ever do.